Matt, Berra, amazing to see you, my friend.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I want to hear what's new, but I also want to hear, we were talking before we hopped on in the green room. You got the fire in your belly, man. You got the get up and go. Tell us what's new.
yeah. Carson, great to hear you. Great to see you again. Like I said, we need to do this more. We got away from it, but we're going to come back. We're going to make this one of these things that's a non-negotiable, right?
There you go.
So yeah, life is good. Kids are growing up. My youngest turns 9 on Friday, which is nuts. I have after 20 years in the food service distribution industry, I have moved on to a new role, new project, new journey. So I work as a senior living development manager for the Central United States for Navigator Group Purchasing. Thank you. It's an exciting time in my career. Business development I think has always been something I've been passionate about. So now I get to go out and help senior living, behavioral health, and addiction treatment facilities all across the Midwest, as far up to Wisconsin, as far south to Louisiana. Kind of spread the good word of what we're doing in that space. Give them a free extension of their purchasing department and provide them services with their culinary, business, and medical needs.
It's incredible. We probably have some overlapping customers.
Probably,
About
and
a
that's a
year.
conversation.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that. About a year and a half ago, I got basically asked to come into our nonprofit business and build a more of a sales culture. And what that means is really we weren't operating outside of IT and procurement. Going out and creating relationships with the board and relationships with the C-suite. And helping them understand, where we can actually, differentiate. People can buy technology and cloud anywhere where I think we're the differentiator is the unique resources and the relationships that we can go out and create, the community that we can build, and it's amazing. We're actually this team is driving 3 times the pipeline as any other organization of its kind globally, and furthermore, outpacing the commercial business by 13% in year-over-year growth. It's incredible. It's fun. And what I think is great too, I think about us, I think about where we've been, and even just some of the old conversations. While it's been a while since you and I have spoken, you and I did some great conversations a couple of years back about number one, how you can infuse your dream job into what you do, but then also that chip on your shoulder that can drive the best to do more. What are your thoughts as you kind of reflect on philosophies that you've had from the past, and then where you are in your new gig?
Yeah, great question. The first and foremost, the crazy thing is we can go 6, 9 months without talking, and then we pick up where we left off.
We flow into the old act.
Yeah, it's great, right? So that's pretty special. Now there's not a lot of relationships out there that people can do that with. But Carson, I'm going to tell you, I bought your book. First day it came out, second day it came out. It's in my backpack. It goes with me everywhere. It's a sales Bible, sales playbook, whatever you want to call it. So thanks for the shout out too. Never in a million years
Absolutely.
I think that anything I said to anybody would be in a book about sales, but here we
I
are.
love giving credit. I pick up a lot of morsels, and I've been really fortunate over the last few years to be on shows and things like that. I love giving credit to the people that have said amazing things, like this lady, Megan Reed, who was on a show a few years back. Ruthless discipline of your schedule. Like these things are such gold, and you can't take them and, take credit. It's like you've taught me a lot, and I remember I'll never forget a gnarly deal negotiation that I went through. And like on the last day of this thing, I called you. And I was
Yeah.
like, Matt, like this is the situation. What do I do? And you told me, and I did it, even though I didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't sure, but it worked out. So like you and I go way back, and I love that things are going so well for you now.
Yeah, it's good. And it's Carson, like again, I can get my hands on any book, podcast, journal entry. I got to tell you, man, it's back to basics. It's back to basics again. It's creating value, and that's a buzzword. Value, like what are you doing to create value? It's creating relationships. We are a Navigator Group Purchasing. We are a high touch model. We are not a GPO and go. We're not going to sign you up, move on. We are going to integrate our services, our value, our culture, our expertise in your senior living community or your addiction recovery facility, your behavioral health facility. That is what we do.
Yeah.
But again, it's back to basics. Carson, you know it. I said it. People are probably getting tired of hearing it. People buy from people.
Yes.
It's
It
face to
never goes
face.
away. It never goes
Never.
away.
No, I mean,
I've been doing a ton of sharpening the axe and reading, and one of the things, like I've been doing a lot of study of, like, the Stoic philosophers, and even like reading Ryan Holiday and how he leverages Stoic principles. And one that I keep going back to, I read a ton of Phil Jackson, who coached the Bulls and the Lakers, and after a win, he would tell his team, chop wood, carry water. After a loss, he tells his team, chop wood, carry water. You've got to get into, it's the fundamentals. They're never going to change. Like, what I love about this conversation is it's back to basics. It sounds really simple. Like, I got to add value. I got to, build these relationships. I got to go out and have these conversations. And I always like to tell people, like, look, you can't go after a number or a quota or a deal. These happen because of relationships. And a relationship happens because you start the conversation based on differentiated value. You can't sound like everybody else that's reaching out to these folks and getting told no. You got to stand out. You got to do different things. I've leveraged LinkedIn. Thanks for the mention of my book. It's really my entire playbook. How I've generated over $1 billion in revenue leveraging LinkedIn that never would have existed without leveraging LinkedIn to get these first meetings. And it's a templatized playbook. I've taken it now 4 places, and it's made me, the biggest award winner in the business. It's incredible. I feel so fortunate to have had that, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to the basics and the fundamentals. People.
it does. Somebody, I got my quota number before I started my job. I think before I signed the offer, and or maybe after I signed the offer. I don't know. And someone was like, "Aren't you nervous?" And I said, "A quota is a number. Like, it's a number." Um, I cannot, I cannot remember a time in my sales career, and sorry to all my future and past bosses that might listen to this, where I ever was like, "Okay, I'm gonna break this number down, and I'm gonna listen, Carson. 3 things: action, attitude." And now in this society, I've added a third: education. If we are not educating our prospective members, our current members, we are not doing our jobs. The age of the internet, the age of AI, the age of journals, publications, dings, notification, pings, it's here. But if we are not taking the time, that ruthless discipline, like you said, to time block the schedule, send out the educational message, create that content. We're going to go by the wayside, and somebody's going to do it. And our competition's fierce, but it's how we're going to, again, put those fences up around our members and start building those relationships with our prospective members, and then go to market. Especially for me in the central United States.
Boom. I mean, look, I couldn't agree more. It's part of my blueprint where there's a passive education. I've formed newsletters that have gone out to all my customers. I go out and I spend manual time pulling leads that, most people don't even reach out to. And then I also, like, I'll do my own webinar series, and I'll promote these things. And it's building community, but it's also passively educating those folks. And then something I want to tap into as well, Matt, is the AI element. Because I'm also looking for ways to incorporate AI, not replacing the humanity and the human touch, but how can I, like, become so crisp on my outreach and my messaging to folks that it's like, and even like on a customer call, I may come up with 3 or 4 just brilliant stories or next steps that we could take all by my lonesome. But by incorporating their website or a customer's LinkedIn page or whatever it is into the engine, and it's all in the prompts. Like, give me 10 things that we could do together, my organization and this person or this person's organization, that call out directly, like their mission statement or things that are on their website or things that have been announced in company earnings. And like, it pops off 10 things, and I would have thought of 3 or 4 on my own. It might be number 8 that, like, gets them to take a second meeting with me, right? It just makes us better, but it's all in how we use it. And you can't lose the humanity piece. I always go back to all of our great conversations. Sales is person to person, Matt Berra. So how are you leveraging AI and technology now to better cultivate that person to person relationship?
Yeah, I'm no AI master. I'm certainly have need to catch up with the times a little bit because again, in my past life, it wasn't something that was to the forefront. But now that I'm really talking with CEOs, COOs, vice presidents, culinary directors, they are smarter than ever, and they are expecting someone to come to the table with the right questions. Um, Carson, I recently heard a quote from a sales genius that they like to use this question. They said, "What brought you to this organization, and what do you want your legacy to be?" Does that sound familiar?
A good question. Yeah.
Yeah. I recently read an article about that, and I wrote that down in my planner. That is going to be a mainstay. Um, uh, I'm going to a conference this weekend. That's going to be a mainstay of something I'm going to ask these people because, again,
Love it.
that is a personal question, but it also weaves in that business professional relationship to where I care about them as a person, their goals, but because they're a steward of the company, I care about those goals as well. But like you said, again, I read your articles on LinkedIn. I may not always comment or,
Hey,
post for reach,
you're a lurker. That's okay.
but
We need those. We
but
need lurkers.
I'm working on that. But something you wrote about massaging that message. AI can only do so much, but it takes the extra 3 to 5 minutes to look at the posts, see what's important to them. If they're liking something Gary Vaynerchuk said, or they're
Yeah.
liking something that Ryan Holiday said, um, if they went to a basketball game with their employees, take that time to massage that AI message, personalize it to them, hit that send button, and again, Carson, like I don't know the quote. I might bumble this. People don't care until they know you care, or something to that extent. So I think again, taking the extra time to do that is pretty special.
Couldn't agree more. You hit on a bunch of really impactful stuff there. It helped me. It's fun being at this stage in my career because I can just kind of tinker with new stuff, and I'm not chasing anything. I got nothing to prove, and so starting to you look at things that maybe irritate you about the sales ecosystem. The word partnership is used way too often. A lot of times we pay it lip service, and I take it very seriously if I'm trying to forge a partnership. In fact, I've even told customers, I don't want to call this a partnership. Right now, it's a collaboration. I want to work toward a partnership. That's my North Star. And in a partnership, like there's give gets. Like we understand what matters to each other. And that's actually where that question was born out of. There was a new executive, and I literally just said, like, tell me more about like what brought you here and like what do you want your legacy to be? And it changed the game for that conversation. I just sat back and listened, and they walked me down this path of all these things. And don't get me wrong, like my seller's brain was thinking, well, wow, we could do this and this and this. We can't do that. We can do this. So I'm definitely like matching things that we can bring, but you can't, just like in great relationships in your life, you can't just react every time you think you have something to say. It doesn't work with my wife, I'll tell you that. So my point is like you've got to listen, you've got to meet people where they are, and you've got to also speak in ways that are conducive to the collaboration, the communication going where you want it to go. These are things that I've learned in my marriage and my relationship with my kids, but also with clients. And what I think is great about all this, Matt, is when I look at the conversations with executives and where they can go, these are people, but furthermore, you can find out so much about them. Just like they can find out so much today and arm themselves and educate themselves, you can find out practically everything you need to know about them with social. I've had a CEO that I got a meeting with, that nobody could get a meeting with this person. And his organization flipped out when I got this meeting. But I commented on every post he made for 6 months. This guy was a prolific poster, and I commented on every post he made when he was the COO. The day he got promoted, I reached out, got a meeting. All heck broke loose in that organization because they're like, how in the world did this nobody get a meeting with our CEO? And, but we were in one business unit out of like 20, and now we're in like a dozen. Um, there's so many different ways that you can go out and arm yourself with intel, but also to go out and create relationships around what can you do that will be beneficial to that target audience. And sometimes you're not a fit. Pretending to be or trying to, cram your solutions down their throat or, sending what Brandon Lee on one of my shows calls the pitch slap. Like these things, you got to get rid of all those old ways and you've got to focus on meeting people where they are. And now, more than ever before, because of things like technology, social media, AI, you can almost perfect your message. I have almost a 40% success rate of cracking into the C-suite and the board within my customer organizations. And these are organizations that my team previously had zero relationship with outside of IT. And I've got a 40% acceptance clip thanks to using AI to craft the perfect messaging from the subject line all the way to short, sweet, to the point. They have a short attention span for email, as well they should. They're busy people. Get to the point, be brief, be brilliant, be gone, get the meeting. Don't focus on anything beyond getting the meeting. You don't even have to mention a product or service. Just get the meeting. And then once you get the meeting, that's when the magic happens. That's when you can ask these great questions. You got me all fired up just thinking about it.
Yeah, and you were listening. You were talking. I was listening. Um, CEOs, they can, and prospects in general, can tell when you're chasing them. Like they can tell when you're chasing them. They can tell when you're prospecting out of um, desperation. That is not an optimal situation to be in. So if you're not taking the time to spend on the research, the personalization, the crisp, clean outreach, you're doing you're doing yourself a disservice. And when you talked about meeting people there, I get it. CEOs, they're very important people. And again, little old me, little old you, we're behind a desk, we're on a plane. Um, our job is to create value and create their relationship. But one thing I like to keep in the back of my mind, Carson, and it helps ease some of the nervousness when I talk to these people and reach out to them. Our weekends probably look the same. They're grilling out for their family. They're spending time raking leaves in the backyard. They're going on trips. They're putting their pants in the same way. They're going to the gym. They're managing sporting events and dance concerts and all this stuff. Um, but you gotta treat them again. You gotta treat them right. It's not always about selling in and showing this and offering this and this discount here and this kind of like. Let's build something special together. Let's collaborate now. Let's build a partnership. But again, let's not chase. Like the days of chasing are over. And if you're a sales rep listening to this, you've probably chased. I've chased. I know you probably chased before.
Yeah.
It didn't work out great for anybody. But until we take, what the prospect wants to see, what they want to hear, take that to heart and sell from the heart, like the great
Oof.
Levine says. Um, we're doing ourselves a disservice as sellers, and unfortunately, we're getting a bad name as sellers from the people that are chasing and running and prospecting out of desperation.
I love that you said that. And I think too, look, I've spent 25 years trying to climb to the top of my trade, right? I wanted to be a master student of selling and, just continuing to sharpen my axe and get better and better and better. And for a long time, I realized that, my customer audience likely doesn't care at all that I've written sales books and that I, am a thought leader in sales or whatever, you want to call it. What I've embraced over the last couple of years is that as I think about my customer can buy cloud or technology from anywhere, what they can't get anywhere is me and what my team brings. And what I've started to do, the most important sale that I do is internal selling. I'm educating, I'm creating relationships, I'm aligning resources and value to help people improve, optimize costs, be more secure, whatever it is. But the most important selling I do is internal selling. How can I be the ultimate evangelist of my customer? While I'm an ambassador of my organization, I'm an evangelist of my customer. And I tell them all the time, arm me with what I need to go back to my business to unlock the coffers for you. Like, I want to sell on behalf of that organization. I spend time with customer organizations and I meet with their business development teams and I'll help them. I'll show them what I do to prospect. open book, man. I mean, heck, I wrote the book. Everything's out there. My competitors want to read it. I don't think they're willing to do the work I've done personally. So when my competitors want to go out there and copy my playbook, go for it. But I'm so serious about investing in customers that I will show them literally anything and everything that I've done for the greater good to make them better and to better serve the organizations they serve. That's how much I care about the collaboration. And that's what I think is important is how much of yourself are you willing to give? Is it a surface level relationship where you're just chasing, like you said, or is it I'm willing to give my all here. I'm so willing that I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing today so that you can sell more, so that you can achieve better outcomes and more impact. That's where you leave a legacy.
Yeah, it's so true. I was meeting with a company last week, and I talked to a couple of their sales reps, and he's like, "Hey, Matt," he's like, "Why would I use you guys instead of a competitor?" He's like, he's like, "For us, sometimes it's just the easy button." And I told him straight up, and I don't want to sound cocky or arrogant when I say this, me. And he's like, "What?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Listen, until you meet somebody from a GPO that works harder than me, that cares more about your outcome and your goals than me, and that cares more about the company than me, let me know.
That's
But
right.
give me a chance. The proof is in the pudding. Let's go out there and do it together." So that's the goal, Carson. Like I said, I one thing that always sticks into my brain when you and I talk is your Holy Trinity.
Mm,
So I don't want to interview you because I like, but tell me again the Holy Trinity and explain it to me again, just so I can hear it and go
yeah.
about my day and get fired up to go do what I do.
The beautiful thing. The holy sales trinity. It's the customer, the company, and you. And these three entities all have to benefit in every situation. If one does not benefit, whether it's a deal or a relationship or whatever the case may be, it's a bad deal. You don't want to pursue it. You can't oversell. You can't, craft a deal where only you win and the customer loses, or, landing something so you can get paid today, but it's going to cause a customer satisfaction issue down the road, or you land something and then you run away and the customer's left holding the bag. But you also have to make sure you're mindful of everybody that touches these relationships. It's a symbiotic circle. For instance, I make sure that I'm going out and anybody who's going to touch the deal I'm on, I want to make sure I know what looks like a win to them because I want to deliver a win to everybody. A few years back, I had a team that they were like, hey, we got all these specialist sellers, but they've got a lot more accounts and they're being pulled in a lot of different directions and they're not prioritizing my customers or my deals. And so I, flipped that on its head. I went out to these sellers and I said, look, if I'm going to go out and master stuff that gets you paid, what's that look like? Who's your ideal person, executive that you want to talk to? I'll go out and get those relationships for you and then pass you the baton so that you get paid. And guess what happens? Rising tides raise all boats. I'm going out, I'm prospecting, handing the baton to these guys. They're selling, they're happy. My team gets paid too. And it's great for the company. Think holistically. Think about everybody who touches these things. And you've got to understand what looks like a win to your customer. I would say the best sales book I've read over the last few years is The Jolt Effect by Matt Dixon and Ted McKenna. Matt was on our show, Mastering Modern Selling last year. Guy's a freaking genius. I was listening to his book while I was mowing the grass, and I like literally kept stopping and taking notes, and people probably thought I was
Great.
insane. But it's like it shows me that it's all about risk, perceived risk. It isn't about fear of missing out anymore, or maybe it never was. It's about the fear of messing up, doing the thing, going away from status quo. Even if you're not married to status quo, going away from it and doing something where it doesn't work. If there's any risk whatsoever, then that your customer's not going to do it. They'll stay going down the same old way of mediocrity or failing, as opposed to doing the risk because they're okay with the current outcome. They're not great with it, but they're okay with it. And it's all about figuring out what is the risk for anybody to do a change of behavior. And if you can figure out that risk and you can de-risk their decision, even if it's somebody hiring you, your probability of success goes up exponentially. And that's what sales is. Man, it's an art, it's a science.
Well, and I think when you bundle that all together, because I know we're getting short on time here. My goal, Carson, I'm sure it's yours too. If you can go to bed at night being the best company ambassador, the best dad, the best friend, the best person you can be, that is a win. Like people are like, oh, what's your definition of success? What do you consider wealth? Um, Friends, family, experiences, laying your head down at night knowing that you did everything you could in the allotted time for your prospective members, your prospective customers, and doing it the right way, not taking the shortcuts, using transparency, operating out of integrity. Um, that's wealth. That's a win. And that's what I want to ultimately provide for everybody that's in my life, personally and professionally.
I couldn't end it any better way. Beautiful, my friend. Always good to chat. I'm fired up. I feel like I could go take on the world.
I
I
know
hope
I'm
our
ready again. I'm
yeah, I hope
ready.
our audience feels the same.
I'm ready.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you next time.
Thanks.